Okay, this video we're going to take what we did on Friday to the next step. If you recall, on Friday we've just found basic probabilities. And when the problem said find the probability, you would write a fraction, where the top of the fraction would be how many times whatever it is they wanted occurred, and the bottom would be the total. Today we're going to do the same thing to get started, but if the problem is asking you to describe the probability, then we must use a word. And the words that we can use are right here: impossible, unlikely, as likely as not, likely, and certain. But you need to know what we call this probability scale, so you know which word goes with which probability. And I'm going to make a chart midway down this page, but 0 will always go with impossible. And that should make sense. If it has 0 chance of occurring, no possibility whatsoever, then we would say it's impossible. Certain is 100% chance, or a fraction that is equal to 1. It definitely will occur. No ifs and buts about it. I know for sure it's going to occur. Then we would say it is certain. As likely or not, or equally likely, is smack dab in the middle. And that's a 50-50, if I write the percent, 50% chance of something occurring, just as much as 50% chance of something not occurring. Now, the harder ones are the ones that aren't as direct, are likely and unlikely, because they are in a range. They are in between. So if I make or complete my chart, impossible means it is definitely never going to happen. We're going to get zeros. And certain means you're going to have a fraction like 5 over 5, 10 over 10, 12 over 12. That equals 1, or 100%. And as likely or not is smack dab in the middle. 1/2, a 50-50 shot of something occurring as it doesn't. Now, likely and unlikely is a range. It's in between for likely 1/2 and 100. So if you have any number between 50 and 100, like 51 or 70 or 75 or 99, any chance that it's in between 50 and 100, you would say likely. And unlikely is in between 0 and 1/2 or 0 and 50%. It could be a 1% chance. It would be unlikely. Sometimes we say most likely or highly unlikely, but any number between 0 and 50 is unlikely, and any number above 50 and less than 100 is likely. So if we have to describe our probabilities, we must first find our probabilities. And once you find the probabilities, then you look at where are they on this probability scale. Is it closer to 50? Is it below 50? Is it above 50? And then you could pick out the word from there. The last thing for the new material, and then we'll look at some examples, is how can I take a probability and use it to make a prediction? And what we're going to do is proportions, because we like proportions. So if we look at this example on number 8, it says Joan asked 50 students to name their favorite color, and 10 of the students chose red. If Joan asked 200 students, how many students would you expect to choose red? So the question is asking us for red, and what else we know are students, total. So when I set up my proportion, I start with my probability for red. And what I know for red, what goes together, is out of 50, 10 of them chose red. They are the sample. They go together. So that's 10 out of 50. And then it says we have a total of 200 students, and I want red. So if what I want for is red is x, then I'll put the 200 down here. Then I could cross multiply and solve, and this gives us a prediction. It's what you're going to see is probability isn't always exact, but it gives us a prediction. Of 40. So if they want us to find the probability, we're giving a fraction. If they want us to describe, we're giving one of the words. If they want us to make a prediction, you're going to do a proportion and get a number. So let's look at some examples together. Number one, we're going to find or describe, we're going to describe using the words. Sometimes I need to find the probability first before I could describe it, so I could look at that scale. Sometimes it's pretty obvious. So this says A, the next person that gets off a city bus is a male. Well, we have two options for gender, male or female. So if somebody gets on a bus, what's the probability the first person off the bus is a male? It's an equal shot. It's a 50-50 shot, female or male. So 50-50 is as likely as not. You may also see it as equally likely. It means the same thing. You have an equal shot of it occurring as you do as it doesn't. Oh, that should have been on A. So when I look at B, it says a bag contains 8 blue marbles and 4 red marbles. What's the probability of purple? Well, if I wrote the probability, it would be 0 because there's no purple over the total, which is 12. You'd have to add for your total. But what's important here is that 0. It is impossible to occur because there's no purple marbles in a bag to begin with. Letter C, you roll a 4 on a 6-sided number cube. Well, if you think of a die or a cube and you roll it, there's one side with 4 dots out of the 6 sides. 1/6 is less than 50%. It's less than a half. So we would say this is unlikely. Letter D says the probability an event occurs is 2/5. Well, 2/5, 2 out of 5 is less than half. So we would say it is unlikely again. E, you roll a number less than 6 on a number die. Well, on a number die, you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of these are less than 6, which is a 5 out of 6. How I would describe it, though, is likely because it's above 50%. Letter F, using the digit 0 to 9. So I'm going to list my sample space, everything it could possibly be. And it says find the probability that it's divisible by 2 or 3. Divisible by 2 or 3 means it goes into it evenly. So 2 will go into these. And by 3 would go into these. 6 again and 9. So you can see we have more than half. Do you agree? So if you have more than half, we would say it is likely. And when you flip a coin, what's the chances that it lands heads up? A 50-50 or a 1/2 probability? That is described as likely as not. Okay, number 2. Suppose you have a bag of colored elastic bands and you want to choose one without looking. There are 42 red, 28 green, and 3 black. We want to find the probability of green. Probability of green, so my fraction, the top number, would be what is green, which is 28. The bottom number, I would need to add up all of my marbles that I'm dealing with to see what the total is. So you would add 42, 28, and 3. And what you get there is 73. So when I want to make this into a decimal, I would do 28 divided by 73, and I get this crazy decimal. But this crazy decimal would help me get a percent by moving it 2 places over, and you get a 38.35%. How would I describe this? Unlikely, because it's less than 50. It's less than half. Number 3, what is the probability that a student guesses the correct answer to a 4-choice multiple choice? Well, if you think of a multiple choice, you have a 1 out of 4 chance of just guessing at random and getting it correct. So this is right, and this is the total. So now we're going to use this 1 out of 4 to find, oh, what if I have 76 total questions? Well, 76 would go down on the bottom, x would come here, and we would cross multiply because it says how many, and we would solve here by dividing by 4, and you would get 19. And number 4. Based on the records for the past several seasons, a sports fan believes the red team will win is 35.35 and that the blue team is 0.40. If there are 180 games, this is your whole. So I could take 180 and multiply it by each of its probabilities. What you'll get here is blue would be 72, red would be 63, blue one more, and how many more or how many fewer did red win? We subtract those to get 9. So I would like you at this point to complete problems on pages 10 to 13, numbers 1 through 12. So you want to do numbers 1 through 12. Have a great day. If you don't finish it, please finish it for homework.